and welcome to Soul Talk, the podcast, where we dive deep into real conversations about real life, and I am your host, Jodie Stalker. Each episode we journey into the heart of what it means to navigate our way through this world, from spiritual awakenings, life struggles, blessings, and life's everyday experiences. Soul Talk is about exploring the depths of our souls, the connections we share, but most importantly, taking the humour out of the moments that shape us. So before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to Soul Talk and follow our social platforms highlighted below. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's dive into today's episode. Since this is the first episode of Soul Talk, I thought I'd take a moment to introduce myself by sharing a little bit about my life and how I found my spiritual path. I grew up on a council estate in Liverpool, one of 7 kids. I had 3 sisters and 3 brothers. We lived in a 3-bedroom house. Imagine the 7 kids with all their friends in the house as well. It was bonkers growing up. I shared a room with my sisters and my brother shared a room together, and we called it the girls' room and the lads' room. The stories that I could tell you about our upbringing have been some of the funniest moments, both good and bad, but you have to see the funny side to every moment that shapes you. Well, eventually you see the funny side. I actually don't know how I ended up so quiet, to be honest, and reserved living with my family. And, I'm laughing to myself because there's a little memory that's just popped up. So growing up, I was always very shy. And I remember being in school, sitting in the PE hall, and I heard all this commotion outside. And I thought to myself, that sounds familiar. I heard teachers screaming, swearing. And next minute, the door swings open and it's my younger brother. He's booted the door down. He's got about 10 teachers chasing him. And he just stops mid-flow of the chaos and goes, "All right, Jodie." And I was like, oh no. I just wanted the floor to swallow me. I was mortified because I was so shy. So everyone just turned around and looked at me. And then he just carried on running, booted the next door down, and then just ran out of school. When I look back, I had all the teachers come up to me and they sat me down to see if I was okay. I don't know whether they thought something was going on at home, but it was such a funny moment. Now I look back and I think, oh God, I wouldn't change him for the world. Anyone who comes from a big family will understand how intense and wholesome this type of upbringing is. But like most families, especially where I'm from, it wasn't always easy. As a family, we had our struggles. We didn't have much growing up, but we did have each other. And that bond is something not many people have, so I will always be extremely grateful to my mum for sacrificing so much of her life for ours. My mum is most definitely the heart and soul of our family. She brought us 7 children up by herself. She balanced the role of a mother and a father. And she worked 3 jobs to make sure we were all provided for. And despite of all the weight that she carried, when things got tough for her, and they did, she never lost her warmth and kindness. She did scream and swear a lot, but that's understandable when there's that many children to keep in order. I remember when we were younger, and do you remember the old-fashioned beds where the sides were made from fabric? And I remember, like, my brothers and sisters, mainly my brothers, but they would wind my mum up that much. She would chase them around the house with a slipper or an action man to throw at them. So we had this fabric bed, and what my brothers done, they sliced a hole in the side of it. So when my mum would chase them, they'd get in the hole, all 3 of them. And my mum would be roaming around the house going, "Where the fuck are yous?" She thought she was losing the plot because she was like, they were there a minute ago. But that is just one of many little things that, like, my brothers and sisters used to do to each other to wind each other up. And I think I think one of my brothers started laughing, which just gave the game away. So then my mum found where they were then, but it makes me laugh. You know, when you look back and you think, oh my God, the things we all used to get up to. One thing I am grateful for to my mum is that she made sacrifices without hesitation. And she shows us how to keep going when life pulls you down, while still remaining caring and compassionate. There's not a thing that 7 of us got up to in our lives that our mum did not know about. Even the things you should never tell your mum, we always did, because she's an absolute legend. My dad was non-existent throughout our lives. Drink, drugs, gambling. And I know for many families in Liverpool and the UK this behaviour is normalised for a lot of people. It's just a shame that it's always the children that are affected the worst. It can really play a part in shaping our future as we carry ancestral trauma. Me and my brothers and sisters have experienced this firsthand. I've made peace with how we were treated by my dad, and I've let that part of me go. But I do know if you were to ask my brothers and sisters, they will see it differently. They do have a very, very dry sense of humour when it comes to my dad. And I do not think it's a good idea to share on here what they think. But I do believe that this world has been designed and structured, especially in deprived areas, to keep people controlled and suppressed from finding their own light. There's many layers to the control that shape our daily lives, and for many, they don't see how the control affects them until they're gripped with addiction. And I'm not just talking about alcohol, gambling and drugs. It comes in many subtle forms that shape our behaviours, our desires and identities without us fully realising it. I'm talking about addiction to food, wealth, technology, control, even the addiction to fitting into a certain way of being instead of embracing our own uniqueness. The list really goes on. In my opinion, I do believe that there's been a massive spiritual war between light and dark for many years. You only have to look around the chaos and the dark that surrounds us every day, and it's becoming more and more predominant. I believe we were all born spiritual beings with a very, very strong connection to the divine. The divine for me represents the highest sacred aspect of existence, a divine truth that guides us through our heart and intuition so we can connect back to our truth and fulfill our soul's purpose. For anyone who doesn't understand what a soul's purpose refers to, it's your unique reason for existence. And this goes beyond material goals. It's a driving force behind your spiritual journey and can be connected to your passions, your talents. It's rooted in the very essence of who you are at the core. And that's why it's so important to embrace yourself, your weirdness, your quirks, because if we don't, and we conform to certain ways of being set by social structure, we will never fully lead with the heart. We will never have that creative expression that we need to fully heal and inspire change within ourselves and the world around us. If we can't fully show up as our true authentic selves, we can remain stuck and disconnected, never fully present, living in fear, doubt and anxiousness. I'll be honest, I've been called weird so many times throughout my life, by my family, my friends, random people, but I embrace my weirdness and I actually take it as a compliment now. So a little question to ask yourselves, are you living in your purpose? Or are you stuck in fear and uneasiness within your daily life? And remember, for many, the goal is to live within your purpose, to live in peace and with love. But if you're not quite there, that's okay as well. That doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. You're exactly where you're supposed to be right now. And as you navigate and move through your life lessons in order to get on that path to figuring out your purpose, so get comfortable with embracing every part of you, the good, the bad and the uncomfortable. I also believe that this system, this social structure and way of living has been created and designed by lower vibrational energies in a way to keep people from finding their own light. to keep people so suppressed so we can be controlled. Because when we connect back to ourselves, our soul, we begin to realise just how powerful we truly are. And if every human found their power, there would be a huge collapse of this social structure. So it remains for now by these lower energies to divide and conquer. But there is a shift happening, I can feel it. And I'm seeing it every single day. People are turning inward for answers, and eventually this will tip the scales where love takes over the dark. One thing I will say to anyone is to make small changes in your own life. Lead by your heart so you can begin to rebalance your karma and light within yourself. Remember, every day we can create our own karma within ourselves by how we talk about ourselves, our choices, how we choose to love ourselves. So choose love over hate. Choose to show up authentically as you are and not how you think people would like you to show up. Let your heart guide you, using your intuition, and start the process into stepping away from all the things that cause you uneasiness. Allow your light to be greater than your karma, and allow your light to shine. So a question I get asked a lot is, how did I get on my spiritual path? And how do I stay inspired and motivated to stay on this path? Especially when there's so many obstacles thrown at us daily. And again, these obstacles thrown in our way are designed to keep us from our own light. For me, faith put me on the path to my spiritual journey and has kept me on the path when times felt dark for me and I wanted to retreat and give in. Faith has shown me the way back home to myself, which was never always easy. To have that trust in dark times, to trust as something you can't see but you can feel, especially in times when your path is blurred and you have no direction. Having faith allowed me to trust my intuition and my heart, which is continuing to help me move through my karma and allow my light to step forward every single day. Growing up, I never followed a particular religion. When I was a teenager, I remember saying, I don't like the way religion has created so much war and so much hate. Although I believe there to be a lot of truth in all religions, I always had that approach that each religion was a different interpretation of the real thing, the truth. And I suppose my interpretation to the truth is to connect back to the divine, the higher source, God, nature, however you choose to perceive it. It's to understand your truth through your heart, to understand that the divine is connecting through your heart centre to show you the way. As long as you lead with unconditional love, your truth, followed by faith, will be met with an internal knowing that is leading you down a righteous path. I will be honest, I love learning as much as I can about all different religions. Because in order to find our truth, we need to learn, we need to see what resonates with ourselves individually. That being said, from a child, I always carried a faith. I always felt that there was something greater than what we've been led to believe. I always had a mindset of following that inner truth within my heart, because my heart knew something weren't quite right. And I suppose this was a significant challenge for me on my spiritual path. Being stuck somewhere in between social programming and expectations, and an inner knowing that a different version of myself existed. But not quite having the courage yet to step into it. Back then, I didn't know I was a spiritual person, but I knew there was more to life than the social environment where I was from. And I guess being guided to follow my heart and intuition without fully knowing what it meant helped me integrate the both until I was confident enough to shred that part of me for good. From a young age, I showed traits of spirituality, but again with social programming. There was a lot of aspects within myself that I never understood. One thing that showed up for me throughout my life, and I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with this. For a lot of years, I always thought that I had to look a certain way, act a certain way, have a certain amount of money, or have a certain amount of friends to be valued. And all that done was create a false sense and an illusion of the person who I thought I should be. Now I understand we were all created different for a reason and should be able to embrace that uniqueness without feeling devalued for not fitting in or following a crowd. I always thought that I weren't good enough. I struggled to hold a conversation with people. I didn't want people to look at me, and I was painfully shy as a child through lack of confidence and self-worth. So I never fully stepped into my spiritual practices until I began to fully start the inner work of self-discovery to connect back to my true authentic self. To heal that little girl that was so lost within herself, which took a lot of years, a lot of pain and self-reflection. To get to this point, but I'm grateful. I am so grateful that I was able to step outside of my comfort zone and away from my conditioned environment. I began to look in the mirror and appreciate exactly who that little girl was and who I am now. I'm so grateful that I now know my worth and what it means to love and honour myself while still showing love and compassion to others. Don't get me wrong, I have little triggers of self-doubt and insecurities that creep in every so often. But through my spiritual practices and my faith, I feel them and I release them. I know what works for me to rebalance myself. One thing I understand is that we are forever healing. We are forever changing and growing into who we were always supposed to be. Nothing in life is supposed to remain in the same position, because when things stay the same, we become stagnant, and stagnancy is death. So don't resist the flow and surrender to the change, because it's more than likely happening for you and not to you. Always remember, when something isn't meant for you, the universe will literally slap you across your face and put you in uncomfortable situations, put uncomfortable things in your path so you can navigate through. It's never always easy. Our emotions and patterns can keep us stuck in unhealthy cycles for years, and for some all our lives, until you learn your lesson and find that strength to change that cycle. And when we allow the flow, the universe will let you know when you're heading on the right path. Things will naturally align for you. You will start feeling good within your life, within yourself. So surrender to the flow and release what is not meant for you. This is something I have learned the hard way many of times, especially these past 2 years. The signs were there, but I decided to ignore them until the divine well and truly intervened. I had no choice but to listen, and because I'm now listening, my life is flowing more than ever. I am slowly shredding away that version of who I was into who I'm becoming. And one thing I will say is that trust and faith in the divine got me through a very difficult time in my life and helped me perceive things differently. It helped me navigate through difficult emotions, to learn forgiveness and to let go. Do you know what? I never thought that this would turn out to be my career. But I guess we go through these life experiences, and each experience shapes us into who we are today. How we perceive our experiences will ultimately determine the path we go down. For anyone that doesn't know much about me, growing up I studied in college and then I went to uni to do fashion design. I think in total about 7 years education, and then many years after that learning through trial and error. I left university and I set up a clothing brand where I used to handmake clothes. I'd done this for 10 years and then I decided to give it up and completely change direction. I think that was about 5 years ago I changed into what I'm doing now. But it's funny because I remember telling my family what I wanted to do and they all thought I'd lost the plot. Especially my mum. She was like, "Are you fucking stupid, Jodie?" And my mum's one of them people where she's always right. But she does say to me now, "Jodie, I eat my words." So I'm glad to have that approval from her now, because when I first told her, I felt like she wanted to strangle me. She probably did, actually. Although this was a difficult period of transition for me, I can honestly say that I was divinely led into this path. And if I never done the inner work internally to step away from my programmed environment, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. So I guess this is the power of faith and trusting in the signs and messages that you are receiving from the divine through your heart. So if you're faced with a situation and there's an inner knowing that something doesn't feel quite right for you, but you know that change is necessary, if the fear kicks in and your logical mind begins to guide you away from your heart space, take some time in solitude. Take some deep breaths, sit with yourself away from the noise, ground your body and turn inwards. Your heart and intuition is ready and waiting for you to listen. And then when you have processed your feelings as many times as you feel necessary until you feel safe, take small steps into making them changes that you know deep down are the right ones. But most importantly, keep your faith and trust that as long as you listen to them gentle nudges of the soul, it's guiding you in the right direction. And why? Because you deserve to live your life authentically to you. So whether that be a career change, whether you're in a relationship that you're not happy in, or whether it's just looking in the mirror at yourself and going, "I know I could be a better version of myself." Trust your inner knowing. It can be so overwhelming because we are naturally taught fight or flight, but we're never taught to feel through our emotions. Without realising, we are also taught all or nothing. What I used to do years ago is when I used to look in the mirror and know I needed to lose weight, I would be like, right, I'm going to buy a load of gym stuff and sign up for a gym, and then I'd go for a month, if that, and then the momentum would wear down. But what I've learned within myself is to just make subtle little changes every single day. And because I've now found that balance, if I feel like, you know what, I do want a little cake, I'll have one, but then I'll also fill my body with a lot of good nutrition now. So having that balanced mindset of it's okay not to be all or nothing. It's okay to find that middle ground, to still treat yourself, but then to also love yourself enough to know that you deserve to have goodness around you, whether that's in your body or friendships or connections that you keep. And I'd say this is the first time in my life where I am feeling mind, body and soul connection. And you know what? It's a really, really lovely space to be in. I enjoy sitting in my solitude. I enjoy finding my own sense of peace and freedom within. So as I move forward with any connection, I now know my boundaries, my values, and I now understand whether that connection is worth having in my life or not. So keep pushing forward with the little steps, the internal changes, because you get to a point where it all balances out. You've just got to keep the faith. So for anyone that doesn't know what I do now, I own a spiritual coffee shop called Enchanted Circle. There's so many different layers to this shop because things are always unfolding. And it's really difficult to articulate something when there's so much going on, so I'll try and explain the best I can. So it started out a little metaphysical shop selling crystals, incense and all different types of products like that. And then it was a natural progression into extending one side into a cool little vibe coffee shop. This is something I never wanted to do. But again, following the little nudges of the divine, it unfolded this way. One thing I noticed when I opened the shop originally was how many people wanted connection, how many people found solace coming in, talking, sharing, also listening and feeling valued. So I think that's one of the reasons why I was so drawn into turning one side of it into a little coffee shop. So there was a space so people could actually come in and sit there for however long they feel they needed in that moment. So that being said, we are in the process of setting up an apothecary section in the back of the shop as well. And then we have the upstairs, which is based around holistic therapies. We have some beautiful people who rent space and they bring their own take on holistic health. Massages, counselling, there's so much that goes on. Personally myself, I do energy healings, card readings, mindful art classes, meditations and whatever else floats in and I feel like exploring. Things are just forever unfolding and that's why I find it hard to kind of say what it is that I do because honestly I actually don't know. I'm one of them where I just wing life. I always have done. I just wing things and hope for the best, but it's turned out okay so far. But despite of what we do here, the most important thing, and this for me is the essence of what Enchanted Circle is. It's that we hold space for anyone that enters the shop. So whatever your reason for coming in, for many, they have been divinely led into this space because it's a space you can fully and truly be yourself. You can explore your emotions and reconnect with what matters the most. The amount of people that have walked in and instantly felt such a strong energy, it's led them to tears for a reason they couldn't make out. But I know through my intuition, for a lot of people, them emotions that they're feeling here is because for the first time in a long time, they've connected back to their heart without them realising. And through their heart, they're connecting to the divine. What's so beautiful, and this has been a lot of feedback from a lot of people that have been in the shop. When they enter, especially for the first time, they feel such a strong sense of release within themselves. And that's them connecting back to their heart without them realising. And that's men, women and children. It really is a place where you can feel, be seen, heard and supported. I know this shop is divinely protected. You only have to feel the energy when you walk in to know there's a reason Enchanted Circle exists. I might have been a channel to start Enchanted Circle, but it's so powerful because of the community of souls that come and the love they feel and share in a non-judgmental way. Every section of our space is designed with intention. It's a space to pause, breathe and nurture your mind, body and soul, no matter where you are at on your journey. And it's so funny because I don't know anywhere where you can walk into a coffee shop, there'll be people doing card readings, there's people crying, laughing, people all coming just to get their own work done for the day, people meditating, people getting saged. It's crazy, but it's a good crazy. all's while waiting for a cup of coffee. And it's so beautiful to stand back and see self-healing and connection happening right before me. The community that Enchanted Circle has created is something that I am so blessed to be a part of. We are all helping each other heal and to find our own light. And that right there is why I know there was a reason I was guided down this path. And now I understand that there needs to be enchanted circles in many other areas. Where there's a Buc-ee's or a pub, there will be an enchanted circle not too far. I see it every day, the difference Enchanted Circle makes in people's lives. I see the healing and the light that has come from this community alone, the community that surrounds the shop. So can you imagine the healing and connection that can be amplified in other areas? It's a ripple effect. There are many other beautiful souls that are all playing their part in helping the world heal. And I guess this is the part that we're playing. I do, however, have to mention Danielle and Steph. We all work alongside each other at Enchanted. You've got Steph, who's this cute little hippie lady who does card readings, and she's just coming on leaps and bounds within herself, and it's so beautiful to see her journey unfold and how she's truly stepping into the power. And then Danielle, if it weren't for this girl, who's only 21 by the way, she is such an old soul. I feel like she's about 40 sometimes. But if it weren't for her, I don't think Enchanted Circle would be the same. For everything that I've been going through over the past year, Danielle she's carried me, she's kept things going. She is the organiser for a lot of things. She is such an incredible, absolutely gorgeous person inside and out. And I am just so, so grateful for her. And it just shows you the power of connection again. Because there was a reason I was meant to meet these ladies. And sometimes you can only connect the dots when you look back. So that being said, as we're coming to the end of the first episode, I just want you to ponder and have a little think on something. Take a little moment in solitude for yourself right now, or whenever you feel called to. Take some deep breaths. Bring yourself back to the heart centre. Look at your life. Are you happy? Is there room for improvement? Is the traumas that you've faced growing up that has naturally led you down a path? Pay attention to the little nudges. Know your worth. And if there's something that doesn't feel quite right, and you know you deserve more, simply bring an awareness to it. Bring that awareness so you can begin to gently step into your own healing journey. Because I tell you something, every single one of us is divinely led down a particular path, individual to each person. And we all owe it to ourselves to follow that path so we can live in peace and joy. So thank you everyone for listening to the first episode. Have a beautiful day everyone.